If you've lived in the Philippines for some period of time, you would know that though it is endowed with abundant natural resources, it is still overwhelmingly poor, with widespread economic inequality between the few that are rich and the majority in poverty. This situation seems to exist in many countries around the world, especially in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. One very important factor for this disparity in wealth is political corruption. If you really want to understand corruption, you can check transparency.org, the website of an organization dedicated to preventing corruption. Generally speaking, as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain, political corruption can be classified as grand and petty, depending on the amount of money lost and the sector where it occurs. Grand corruption consists of acts committed at a high level of government that distort policies or the central functioning of the state, enabling leaders to benefit at the expense of the public good. Petty corruption refers to the everyday abuse of entrusted power by low and mid-level public officials in their interactions with ordinary citizens. Corruption in the Philippines is widespread and affects absolutely everyone. Incumbent President Rodrigo Duterte was elected because he promised to put an end to corruption in particular. This shows the situation in the Philippines wherein the public is clearly tired of the status quo. Some means of corruption include graft, bribery, embezzlement, backdoor deals, nepotism, and patronage. As of 2014, the Philippines came in at 85th out of 167 countries in Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index. The Philippines' corruption further increased in 2016, downgrading its ranking on Transparency.org's CPI to 95th, tied with Mexico and 3 other countries. According to Dominic Mele of the University of Navarra, there are 10 possible causes of corruption, including personal greed, low awareness, and lack of courage to denounce corrupt behavior, cultural environments that condone corruption, lack of transparency, slow judicial processes, and many more. Since personal gain is valued over the general well-being of the community, an apathetic mentality emerges. People soon lose their trust in their government and refuse to follow even the most basic of laws. Fundamental human rights are abused, entire communities are ignored, crime rate and unemployment increases. It can also be claimed that corruption is the primary problem of the Philippines and other developing countries because it affects the entire societal system, not only politically and economically, but in sectors such as education, technology, and the like. Progress is slowed, stagnant, or in some cases erased. The things people have worked hard for do not materialize into things that will benefit them, but instead have disappeared into the coffers of the same people who are supposed to be helping them. Absolutely nobody is free from corruption. No organization, no individual, no system is completely clean. Teenagers in particular are in the stage between the childish instinctive stage and the adult moral and ethical stage. Lacking the wisdom that comes with age, their minds and thereby their consciences are not fully developed, and they are still more likely to think erroneously. Many still possess the childish mentality that it's not a crime unless you get caught, discounting the fact that it's a responsibility to discipline yourself even when nobody is around, for the greater good of the community. This mentality can be seen in the Ateneo de Manila Junior High School today, when students abuse the privileges given to them. When a teacher is not present, students can be observed doing things they very well know that they are not supposed to do. Students can be bribed to do projects or homeworks for a fee, and there are many cases of test answers being leaked. If you do something wrong, you can even pay the witnesses to stay silent. Even the Catholic Church, the body of Christ, is not immune to corruption. In fact, numerous scandals have plagued this organization for centuries. Pope Francis himself has actively spoken out against corruption, even going as far as to say that the corrupt should be thrown into the sea just days after a scandal erupted inside an ancient religious order linked to the Vatican. The Catholic Church affirms the dignity of the human person in that they do acknowledge that it exists and actively takes steps to prevent it. Pope Francis has already called for greater transparency in the Vatican to curb the rampant corruption. Francis is a remarkable figure in that he rejects the extravagance that the Church is often associated with, opting for more simple things instead. True freedom can only be obtained when we acknowledge the freedoms of others and work to achieve the common good. Corruption violates true freedom because we do the exact opposite. In corruption, selfishness prevails over the benefit of others, thereby ignoring the fact that we are relational beings and that human dignity should be respected in each human being. Through prayer and good works, YouTube can prevent corruption. Whenever you see anyone doing what you know is wrong, it is a responsibility and a privilege to do what is right. This is the light that triumphs over the shadow of corruption that befalls us. Through the grace of God, we are given the strength to battle the forces of greed and selfishness, and instead think of the people who are in dire need all around us. We must let go of the things that are not important and work to serve God to the fullest. AMDG.